Hello, guys. Hello. Welcome to Couch Court with Llama, Couch Confessions. Yeah, it's a new little thing we're going to try to do when we have interviews with people. I see that the portal isn't working, and I'm so sorry. I don't know. It's YouTube. YouTube does YouTubey things sometimes. But so we'll wait for others to come in. I know that they probably should have gotten their little notification. That's why we click the notification bell. So that way we just pop up on your phone. Now, let me bring on today's guest who's going to share their story of jury duty. Hello, Terry. Do we like the little
Again.
circles or do we like the, we like the
Oh,
little circles.
yeah, let's skip the little circles,
Turns out
please.
we like the little ones.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I need to go remember to like. There we go.
that's right. If you haven't yet. Oh, not that one. I don't want the squares, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, right there's perfect.
There we go. We'll just stick with this for now. Do we have like a little, there we go. There it is. I was like, I know Amy made one of these little banners for us. Hi guys, hi, come in. Hit your little couch thing so you can take a seat on the Llama couch. And now you guys, so for those of you that don't know, why don't you introduce yourself at Teri True Crime?
I am Teri True Crime. I am the host of True Crime and Wine Time, the podcast that started all of this channel, all of this fun stuff. So that is me. For those of you that don't know, True Crime and Wine Time started 5 years ago.
Wow.
This year as a podcast with
That's
just
awesome.
me in the closet with a microphone, a laptop, and a Raggedy Ann doll.
Why the Raggedy Ann doll?
So if you listen to the very first episode, we got rid of it because I was told it was too creepy. Double H and I were out somewhere and we found at an antique store the original Raggedy Ann and Andy, the big dolls. So
Okay.
I didn't want to feel like I was alone in the closet by myself. So I had my Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls to talk to.
Okay.
And then I got feedback that they're creepy.
It's creepy
So
and weird.
they left the closet.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy and weird, Terry.
I know, but as you know, it's hard to just sit here and talk to yourself. And for the podcast,
it's so hard.
It wasn't on YouTube. There wasn't chat. It was just literally talking to yourself into a microphone. And I found it hard because I'm so facial expression,
Yeah, I've had to do some of the P Diddy Couch Court with Llama After Dark by myself a couple of times, and I'm sure Amos can attest to. There's a lot of times where I'm just talking to myself, like do. It's just me here.
Right. And it's hard. People don't realize it, but it's hard.
It is hard. I was one of those people who did not realize it. Turns out it's hard. But anyway, so Terry, you got to finally have one of your dreams come true.
I know.
Tell us about it.
One of my bucket list items was taken off. I got jury duty and I got picked. I am even keeping my jury duty form that came in the mail so that I can put it in my scrapbook.
You're not supposed to hold papers up, remember?
Oh, no, this is just my jury notice.
Oh, okay.
Just the jury notice. It was a civil case, which means I am still eligible in our county to be on a criminal case.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting.
So I can't be on another civil case for 6 months. I believe is what they said, but I can still be on a criminal case.
For 6 months. Interesting. That's exciting.
Yeah. Sorry, Lisa Lee. I know the portal didn't work today. I think YouTube's on a holiday and it decided it did want to portal us.
No, but y'all are finding your way and we love that. We love that. So tell us, let's start with you show up to the courthouse for jury duty.
Yes.
Now, question, is this a bigger courthouse, a smaller one? Like, what would you?
So it was district court. So it's the larger courthouse, but we are the county seat. So it's the only courthouse.
Oh, okay. Yes, that damn Lori Vallow.
Damn Lori Vallow. So It's said to be there by 9. I cannot stand being late, so I arrived at 8:35.
Nice. Well, parking too, I'm sure. At least that's how it is here. Parking.
Yeah. Well, parking, I can admit this now, I could not park at the courthouse. I had to park across the street
Mm.
because if you carry a gun in your car, I have a permit, you cannot park at a courthouse with a firearm in your car, and I forgot to
Oh,
take it out, so I had to park across the street.
interesting.
Just like a
Okay.
school. I can't go to pick up monkey butt at school on the grounds, which I am totally okay with.
Hmm.
So I had to
Interesting.
park
Okay.
across the street. I was not one of the first people. I would say there was probably 30 people already there. Found out they called 94 people for
Wow.
this
That's a pretty
summons.
big pool.
Yeah. Now, the people who showed up at 8:55 got told, "We have plenty. No more seating left. You can leave." And they checked off that they showed up. So, why I'm telling you that, if you don't want to serve on a jury, get there the last few minutes. Apparently, that happens kinda often.
Oh, I I want to serve on one. I got
I know, I'm
called for
like,
jury duty once, but we didn't even make it to voir dire or anything. We just sat in a room all week. It's
yeah.
annoying.
So that was it. I showed up. You do have to go through the metal detector
Hmm.
and all of that good stuff, and then you just sit and wait. Oh, and you have to check in. Here, you do everything online.
Oh,
So you just had to show them your driver's license, prove it was you, and then you went and had a seat until they were ready for us, and we
okay.
sat and waited for everybody to show up,
Interesting. Interesting.
and then it got interesting because everybody showed up. Then we got told, "Well, guess what? Now you're all gonna leave for 2 hours. You're gonna come back in 2 hours, and when you come back, sit here in the waiting area. The bailiff is gonna call you up, and we've randomly assigned numbers."
Ooh, what was your number?
So, I was number 22
Ooh, that's a good number.
because 23 is my lucky number, but I
Okay.
got 22, so it was okay. And then what they did, they called us by our numbers, and when you walked into the courthouse, they had your number sitting on a chair on the benches. They're like pews. And
Okay.
then you had to hold the number so that when they started the questioning, the voir dire, you had to hold up your number and stand up.
Oh, okay. Probably for the court reporter, I imagine.
But what was interesting, we were told they were going to ask questions of the people in the first 3 rows because most of the people in the back, your chances of getting on the jury were very thin. Now, the 2
Interesting.
people next to me did not show back up. So 20 and
Oh,
21 did not return.
does anyone
So,
get in trouble for that sort
I
of
don't
thing?
know. I had so many other questions throughout it, I didn't think about asking that,
Hmm.
but they didn't show up.
Interesting.
So,
Wasn't there one story about one of the jurors when they went to get?
yes. So, I asked one of my other fellow jurors, they were like, "Oh, I missed that," because you could sit in this area or back over there. They called up a woman, and I'm not gonna say her name, even though I remember
Yeah.
it, and they asked her to step in the back, and police officers went with her, and she didn't come back.
Oh.
Then the comment was made, "If you have a warrant, don't show up for jury duty."
Oh,
Now,
yikes.
I was like, "Okay, but maybe you didn't know you had a warrant out? Maybe?"
I mean, I know people have had them for just parking tickets, like
Right.
not
So
even like a
yeah,
super serious
yeah.
criminal offense. Like I know
I mean,
our city will do, if you have too many and you don't pay them.
they didn't, like, rush this person, take her down or anything. It was a casual, "Hey, come on back,"
Mhm.
kinda situation, and I only heard the, "Don't show up if you have a warrant," from somebody else, who was sitting near me, and I was like, "Oh, good to know that I should never do that." So, if you have jury duty, most counties, you can go online and check their open warrants for free, or you can call and give your driver's license number, and they'll tell you so you can find out before you go to jury duty.
I don't know if I would want to call. Hi, Broken Baker. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Thank you
Yeah,
for being here.
yeah, thank you. So, I mean,
I mean,
that was interesting. And I will tell you, I was a little sad when I got number 22
oh, why is
because
that?
I was like, there's not a chance in hell I'm getting on this jury.
Well,
And I
and then
was
you
wrong.
did. Can I ask what? So, all right. So they call you for voir dire. What kind of things did they ask you? Because I hear that it changes, depending on the trial. Those are
It
the kind
does.
of people they're looking for. So, what kind of questions did they ask
So,
you
the judge gave the plaintiff and the defendant side 1 hour to
to
do
go through
their
everyone or each
uh-huh,
person? Oh,
each.
okay.
So
Wow.
they got an hour for the entire group.
Oh,
So
wow.
they told us we're gonna ask some group questions and you answer. If you are called on by your number, you have to stand up and hold your number in front of you, kinda like you do for your, booking photos.
Oh, okay.
Um, the questions started off with, "Do you think you could give money for mental anguish?"
Okay.
And I was shocked. We had a couple of people who said no.
Oh,
So they got their numbers called.
I'm
One
glad you're
gentleman,
honest.
one guy was honest. He goes, "No." He goes, "Suck it up, buttercup."
Oh, okay.
I mean, I will tell you, I was shocked by some of the responses
Hmm.
about that and then someone was like, "Well, how do you prove mental anguish?" So, no. You deal with
Interesting.
it, you move on, and it's your responsibility to take care of your mental stuff. So, that was surprising to me that people were that firm about it, but
Hmm.
then we had a couple who said, "I feel that way, but I think I could consider it."
Okay. That's usually a good answer.
They did not get picked.
Oh, I guess it's not a good answer. I spoke too soon.
They did not, which I thought once they said they
Uh-huh.
would be able to consider it, I was like, "Okay, they can consider it." But I think because they said so strongly, the way I took it, they didn't believe in mental anguish.
Mm.
And then they asked questions. They flat out told us, "We're gonna ask this jury to award millions of dollars. Can you do that?" We had some people who were like, Millions?
Mm.
No, that's life-changing. No, probably can't."
Kelly
So
P wants to know what were their ages. Who the jurors?
of the jurors, so the ones who felt they couldn't do money, I would say 30s to 40s,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
30 to 40s, which I I found that shocking. Then we got asked, a question about could you award money in a DWI situation, which alluded to me that this was about a drinking and driving incident.
That's fair.
Then they asked questions. Have you lived or had association with Navasota, Texas, Bryan College Station, and another little town? And I was like, those are not in our county.
Oh,
So why were I mean, so I thought they were red herrings. I really did. And then we had somebody who's, yes, I've lived there, but it's been, and then they asked what time, and it wasn't within a time frame.
mm.
So they moved on. Then they asked, have you ever worked at the Hyatt Lost Pines Resort,
Okay.
which is in our county, and it is a very nice, swanky resort. And we had one lady who worked there as an arborist. And she
I'm
also,
interesting.
because they have
Good
nature
job.
trails, they also have animals.
Okay.
She also would bring baby alligators for the kids and people to pet. And I was
Huh.
like, wait a minute. We've talked about alligators before on Llama Court.
Yeah.
No.
Llama's not going to the south, y'all. Okay. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
So
No,
did
thank
that.
you.
And then she also brought snakes so that the kids could let and hold the snakes.
Yeah, let's chat. By the way, not only let us
Yes.
know if you've done jury duty, but before we continue on with Teri here, and maybe Amos, maybe you can make a little banner going. But if anyone's ever served on a jury before, I would be very interested in talking to you because I
Yes.
love hearing about people's experiences. And Amy can make a little banner and put our email addresses
Mhm.
in there if you want to come on and tell your experience, because I think they're fascinating.
Mhm.
And depending on the jurisdiction, they're so everybody's experience I have heard is so different from one another. So yeah, we'll get that together for you
They did
guys.
ask if people had served on a jury before,
Oh,
asked if it had been criminal or civil, and then would ask details around that.
were there anyone?
There was. There
Interesting.
was. We also they would go around and say, "What do you do for a living?" So, like, when he asked me to stand up, made me introduce myself, nobody can say my last name. It's not hard, but they can't. He goes, "What do you do?" Because you fill out on the form, and he goes, "You're HR." I was like, "Yes." And he goes, "Do you work for Insperity or with Insperity?" And I was like, "That is my company's payroll company. What kind of deep dive did you do into me?"
That's funny.
But
No,
then
did, go
yeah,
ahead. No,
then
no, go
they
ahead.
ask some people, "What do you do for fun?" They didn't ask me that,
Oh, okay.
did not ask me that, but they asked one person, they were retired, federal marshal,
Oh,
and he also had done, the private sector. He made it onto the jury,
oh, that's interesting. Okay.
but the attorney we had a retired attorney, did not make it onto the jury.
Mm.
Then they had one lady they asked,
You have
"Oh,
jury due tomorrow?
is
Oh,
it
that's
criminal or
exciting.
civil?"
No, I think
Oh, are you
Rutabaga
saying
doesn't live in the States, if I remember right. Yes, yes. In his country, oh gosh, I'm going to get it wrong. So I don't want to say, I think it's Denmark. I could be wrong.
okay.
Sorry. my my memory is not the greatest. I've been hanging out in Canton, Massachusetts
You've been
all this
hanging out in
morning,
Canton too
so
long.
it just memory just goes all over the place.
The
Okay.
the other thing that was interesting, they talked she was number 1. They
Hmm.
talked to her quite a bit because the thought is the first 14 are gonna make it unless they're counted out. So they get 6 that they can dismiss, and then
Okay.
the judge can. They talked to her about what she did. So she is a controller for a company and pays out a lot of money. It's a very wealthy company. She's like, "Yeah, just last week I wrote a check for 280,000 for them to buy a boat."
What?
But yet we're turning down people's raises.
Wow.
She did not make it
Mm.
on the jury. But what's interesting, we did have a tequila distributor rep make it on the jury.
That's who I want on my jury afterwards.
So those were the questions, and then the defense asked me, or the defendant's team asked me directly, did I think so they told us about a preponderance of evidence in a civil case.
I have lots of questions. I would love to have you on. Just shoot us
It
an email for sure.
Yes. You only have to have 1% one way or the other to make a decision. So it's a preponderance of evidence.
Okay.
So the way they explained it, think of a football field, the 50-yard, if
Hmm.
there's 1% of evidence, either way, can you make a decision? A lot of
Interesting.
people said no. It needs to be 80%, it needs to be 60. And for me, I was like, whoever has the evidence, it's going to be tit for tat going back and forth.
Hmm.
Whoever has that 1%, that's who gets the verdict in my way. So that was
Right.
interesting because a lot of people said it has to be with that much money, they would need a lot of evidence. They couldn't do just 1%.
I imagine that is kind of difficult, because civil cases here are very different with criminal cases, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Like you do
Right.
need that
Right.
99.999%. Um, Civil cases, that's not the case at
And
all.
people said they felt that way because you were asking us to determine millions.
Yeah, honestly, I probably would kind of give an answer like, because even if it's not a company or it's a person, ugh, having to start counting 80s. Oh, I will look into that. I'm an Ohio girl. Um,
So, I
Somebody
mean,
write that on my list of things to do.
in civil, my thought process behind it was if one side or the other has so what I did on my little note page, I drew the little justice lady, and every time someone gave me evidence, I would put a tick mark. If it got removed, I would draw a line through it so
Oh,
that at the end, whoever had the most lines, that was my percent of evidence.
okay.
So that's how I did it.
Interesting. Could you imagine having a solo?
Okay, about solo cups, our plaintiff was a retired crime scene investigator for the police. So while we were in the jury room after I got selected, but I did ask him about solo cups. Guys, it's not that uncommon. He admitted to me there was a time they used solo cups to collect evidence, but it was because of a hurricane and flooding is why they used cups,
Okay, so moving water.
moving water.
Okay,
But
that I can maybe give a little
I
slack with
did too,
moving
but
water.
I was still like,
Snow, it's not going nowhere.
yeah,
So,
I wanted to know why you didn't use a colander and grab it with a colander, get what you wanted, then put it in an evidence bag. But so I just had to share with y'all when I asked about that, he's like, "That's not that big of a deal." I was like, "What about blood evidence? All this?" He goes, "Oh, that's different."
that's different. There it is.
So
So
then
there it is. Okay,
they
so they pick you for
well,
the
not I don't
jury.
know yet. They've
Oh,
asked
okay,
us.
okay.
They then ask us to leave the room again for an hour to
Okay.
go sit while they do their discussion. Then they bring us back, everybody into the room. And then if they call our number, we are to stand.
Okay.
And
Ooh,
that
like a
means you're
beauty
on the
pageant.
jury.
Did you react like you were on a beauty pageant? Like, oh my God,
I
thank you.
didn't. I just went,
Inside you were though.
oh, what inside I was. I will tell you, I was going to be disappointed if I wasn't because their questions piqued my interest and I wanted to know
Hmm.
why we were asking about stuff out of our county.
Yeah.
And I really thought they were red herrings. And one of the attorneys was kind of cute too. But anyway.
Well, mhm.
So then we got told to go home and come back the next day because we did not find out we were on the jury until 4:30 p.m.
Oh, wow.
It was all day.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay. So they pick you for the jury.
Mhm,
You look around, you see the other jurors that got picked
mhm.
too. Now, how many? Because sometimes juror sizes can be different on civil cases than regular. How many
12,
jurors were picked total?
12, and then 2 alternates.
Oh, okay. 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 So then you're sent home. You come
Mhm.
back the next morning. What do you
Now
do?
we were sworn in before we left.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, that
They
makes sense.
swore us in, and we got our jury instructions after
Oh,
so they had little, sidebar conversations. I'm not gonna read you all of the jury instructions, but I found some of these interesting because we hear Judge Bev give instructions,
hmm,
and she says, "Be careful with your social media.
okay.
Do not use any chat rooms, blog, social networking websites such as Facebook, Twitter, or Discord.
Go.
Do not post on any of these sites." Okay, it doesn't say be
Yeah,
careful. It
it's
says no.
hard
And
no.
this is not a case that was in the media.
Interesting. By the way, I
Then
can assure you she was never on Discord
no,
ever. I can vouch. I had to lead the way for several days.
it was rough. So here's the other thing. This is number 2. Oh, also it says, "Do not record or photograph any part of these court proceedings because it's prohibited by law." I found that funny because you don't let us have our phones. So how could we take a picture? But that's okay. Now, to avoid looking like you are friendly with one side of the case, do not mingle or talk with the lawyers, witnesses, parties, or anyone else involved in the case. You may exchange casual greetings like hello and good morning. Other than that, do not talk with them.
Oh,
I found that interesting because I was expecting don't look at them, don't say hello.
yeah.
We could say good morning.
Oh, yeah. When I got called, even though we didn't even go for voir dire, like there's so many. It was a huge room because I live in a very big city, and they're like, nobody's allowed to talk to you, look at you. They gave us little badges, and literally no one
We had
would
badges
look at you to
and
talk.
we were not allowed to wear our badges out to lunch because they didn't want
Oh,
us to incite conversation. We had to take them off and leave them there.
oh, we had to wear them during lunch. So lawyers and or any 'cause again, it's a very large courthouse where I am, so maybe that's
Oh, I mean,
a
in this
thing.
county, we're 100,000
Oh, yeah, we're
people.
much, much
Yeah.
higher.
So, I mean, I'm not in
Mm,
Travis County, which is the Austin proper, which would be so like I went and got takeout somewhere every day because I didn't want to run into anybody in restaurants
mm.
right there in little downtown. Now, here's the other one that interesting. Do not accept any favors from the lawyers, witnesses, parties, or anyone else involved, and do not do any favors for them. This includes favors such as giving rides or food.
Okay.
So at the vending
When does
machine,
that
I
come
was
up
like,
before? The ride
um,
thing?
am I going to buy somebody food? So
Maybe.
now this one was the hardest part for me besides social media. Do not discuss this case with anyone, not your spouse, friend, either in person or by any other means, including phone, text messaging, email, chat rooms. And it says, do not allow anyone to discuss this with you. And you cannot even discuss this with your jurors.
Okay. I mean, those seem pretty standard. So,
And I did have to, in the jury room, a couple of times say, hey, guys, I'm not sure we're supposed to be talking about that.
oh, okay. It had to have been so hard.
It
I'm sure
it
we'll
was
get to
hard.
that.
Here's the next one that was hard for me. Do not investigate this case on your own.
Oh, I know, right? That had to have been so hard.
Considering I have access to court documents, I mean, as y'all know before, I didn't look into it. I wanted to go to the resort to see where it happened. I'm like, you can't. But I am going to go this week
Ooh,
because I need to see the 50-foot drop off where they went. But so I found that interesting. The other thing I found interesting, you are not allowed to tell jurors about your own experiences. For example, you may have special knowledge of something in the case, such as
trivia.
business, technical, or professional. You may even have expert knowledge. Do not tell other jurors about it because it means the jury would consider things that were not admitted in court.
Interesting.
I found that very interesting because I have heard in other cases where they talk about things and that kind of helps them make a decision.
I don't think I've ever heard that instruction given before.
I I was surprised.
I mean, it makes sense. It it,
It
it very much does make sense.
it
But I don't think I've ever heard that given
does,
specifically.
but doesn't. So let's think of the Karen Reed trial.
Okay.
What if one of the people on the jury has information about how Cellbrite works? They're not allowed to tell you. In
Oh,
this
that's a good point.
court, that's what I found interesting because wouldn't you want to leverage someone's knowledge if it's their job or their career and they know?
Mm.
Wouldn't you want to be able to say, "Hey, could you explain that to me?"
Yes, but they haven't been held under scrutiny to be an expert in the case, which that doesn't apply to Karen Reed because apparently they don't even freaking do that for some reason. But I don't know. I actually could see why that would be a problem.
Because
You know,
I
you
had a
have somebody who
question.
says, I mean, anybody that you're in the room with can say whatever they want, and you're
Yeah,
just going to take their word for it, you know? So I can see why that may have caused the problem in some, but
'cause I'll tell y'all one of the questions that we got to during testimony that I needed to know the answer to, but if we weren't allowed to ask somebody, how yeah. So that was the other ones were just your standard,
mhm,
instructions, but I found it interesting that there was no social media.
it
Not
is.
beware, not be gentle, that
Yes.
no.
I can see where it can become very problematic real quick. Um, and things, but I don't think I've ever heard it given. So that's fascinating. Okay, so what's the makeup of your jury? You got how many people did you say? 14
We had
of you?
14. Our 2 alternates were male.
Oh, so they decided who the alternates were beforehand.
It was by your number called. So the first 12
Oh,
that they picked, they were on it. The next 2 were the alternates, is how they
okay.
did it. It was by the
Okay.
number system.
Some know ahead of time in jurisdiction, some don't until it's
It was
time.
the first
So,
12 that were agreed upon in the ordering number. So what they did is they started with juror 1, got dismissed, juror 2, so they went through that way,
okay.
is how they
Interesting.
did it. We had 6 women and 6 men,
Hmm,
and then 2 alternate males.
okay. So pretty even there. Were they
Mhm.
younger, older, a mix,
Our
professional?
youngest person was 23.
Oh, that's young.
Our oldest person, I think she said she was 78.
Wow. Okay. That is quite a broad
It was. I would say
range.
the majority of us were in our 40s to 60. I would say the
Okay.
majority were 40 to 60.
Okay.
Um, and what's so funny, I can tell you where the people live, what they did for a living, but I can't remember most of their names.
Oh, that's okay. And did any of them, I'm assuming they didn't serve on a jury before since they asked that question during board year, or?
We had some who had served on juries before, but it had
Oh,
been quite some time. So it was
oh,
nothing
okay.
recent.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Most of us were newbies. I would say 75% of us had not ever even made it this far.
Mm.
So
Can I ask you? So you guys show up in the juror room. None of you know each other. What was that like? Are you like, what do I say? Do we even say anything? Are we allowed to say something? I don't know, sort of
well,
thing. You know,
you know me.
I do know you.
I was the lady next to me, Vicky, I do know her name. So 3 of the ladies showed up in pink besides
Oh
me on
no,
day 1.
your besties.
I was like, "Okay, I love all of you already." So everybody kinda said hi. Nobody really asked each other's names that first day, which I asked the people next to me, but I didn't ask, like, everybody what their
Hmm.
names were. So it was a little awkward
Yeah.
at first, but we did kinda just make comments about the questions they were asked. Like, "Oh," the tequila girl, "Hey, what's the brand of the tequila?" You know? Or, and then there was a lot of kids' graduations going on, kindergarten graduations, so we talked about stuff like that,
Okay.
but nobody talked about their jobs really, and it was pretty quiet.
So once you got over the entire like, oh, this is weird for everybody, some of you started talking a little bit
We did, and
more.
we started talking more once we went out and heard some testimony.
Mm.
I will tell you, the sidebar thing, it kept happening. I'm like, "Could you just stop?" And then they
Okay.
made us leave the courtroom so they could talk.
Oh, for sidebars? Okay.
and then come back in sometimes, not all of them, but they did do that. And once they did that the first time, I would say we had been there they did opening statements. Something came up, we had to leave the room.
Is it as annoying in person as it
Uh-huh.
is watching it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. If
Mhm.
not, maybe more annoying.
Uh-huh.
How would you rate the annoyingness?
It was very annoying.
It's very annoying. Did it
It was
make you feel in like just this animosity against? I mean, it didn't matter who called it, but you know what I mean. Just this.
It did. My thing was, why didn't y'all already discuss this and clear this up?
Mm,
We've been at it an hour and a half, and you're already having to send us out of the room.
yeah.
And that's
Mm,
what I found frustrating. I'm like, shouldn't y'all have already done this?
yeah.
Now, opening statements caused us that's when I had to say, hey, we probably shouldn't talk about this stuff. One of the defense attorney in his opening statement mentioned he had just met his client a week ago
What? A
and
week?
then made a comment that, and as you'll see with the previous depositions, previous attorney did not do a good job protecting my client. So they changed attorneys.
A week before.
Mhm.
Wow.
So found that very interesting. Now, during the plaintiff's side,
Why would the defense even say that in opening statements?
that's
Why would you say that?
um now as we go through it, I'll tell you why. I now
Okay.
get it why.
Okay.
But the
No
plaintiff
spoilers.
side did their opening statement. I can tell y'all this was a civil case about drinking and driving.
Okay. So that's
Um,
what we're here for is drinking
that's
and
what we're
driving.
here
Okay.
for. So the plaintiff gets up there, to do their opening statements, and they start talking about the number of drinks the defendant had
Mm.
and the
Are they
time
Canton
frame.
numbers? How did they do math? Canton
And
math?
they came with the receipts
Oh,
because Lost Pines Resort. So what? Okay, I'll stick to this. So they told us about the number of drinks in the opening statement. Then they told us who we would be hearing from.
okay.
And me and my notes, I wrote down every person they said we were going to hear from. I wrote down every one of the drinks. I wrote it all down. So then we go back into the room while they had their discussion, and that's where people were like, they only knew him a week. A week. And that's when I was like, guys, I'm not sure we should talk about this. And they're all like, you're
Yeah.
right, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Um,
But obviously everyone was thinking it like this. What?
yes,
What?
it was.
You're right.
So
You guys should have been taught.
what we
Good to
found
shut
out
it down.
in opening statements was that Cody, who is the plaintiff, I'm only going to use his first name, and Matt, the defendant, Cody worked for Matt at a company,
Okay.
a crane company.
Crane
Matt's
company.
a crane company.
Okay.
Matt said, hey, why don't we on Friday, instead of going to the job site and working, why don't we go to Lost Pines Resort where I'm a member and let's play golf? Cody
Okay.
said, I get paid by the hour. I would rather work. So Matt said, I will pay you for the day and pay for everything.
Oh.
So Cody drove an hour and a half to his boss's house, left his truck there, then rode with his boss to the resort that's here
Oh. Okay.
in our county. Started off at 9:24 in the morning with buying a 6-pack of beer.
At what time
And
in the
you heard me.
morning? Okay.
9 in the morning. Now, they
Okay.
stopped at Buc-ee's on the way, and they each had a breakfast taco. Matt ate 3/4 of his breakfast taco.
It's oddly specific, but okay.
It comes in, and so then they're in the golf shop paying their green fee, whatever they do in the golf shop, and they bought the 6-pack of beer and started drinking at 9 in the morning. Cody says he had 1 sip of his beer because he was on antibiotics.
Oh.
And he knew his wife, I think his exact words on the stand were, would kick his butt.
Yeah.
So the first witness, I'm trying to remember who they called. They called Cody first to the
Okay.
stand,
The plaintiff.
the plaintiff, to
Okay.
tell us everything. And during that time, we learned that they played golf. Matt drank 5 beers. Cody had 1 sip of his and just set it aside because he wasn't
Okay.
drinking. And then he had ordered 2 Gatorades. He drank his Gatorade.
Okay.
After they finish playing golf, they go to the pool area, which you're not supposed to do because you're a golf member does not give you right to the pool.
Okay.
Kelly, the reason why, Matt basically told Cody, stop being a P, man up, and have a beer.
Oh,
He bullied him.
I see.
So then they go to the pool, which is interesting because Matt had told Cody to be prepared to go to the pool. Bring your swimsuits. Even though he's been a member there for years, it's not included.
Okay.
So he snuck into the pool. Within 2 hours and 45 minutes at the pool, Matt ordered 6 rounds of Miami Vices
I don't
total.
know what that is.
It is half pina colada, half strawberry daiquiri.
Oh.
And
And he called
then,
him the P word? Really? Really?
and then
Judging.
Matt had a floater put on top. This is all according to Cody. So we're going to go with Cody. Now, Cody he took a drink, took a couple of sips of the first one. He asked the waitress to make his virgin going forward and not tell Matt.
Look at
And
him.
just to charge full price.
Okay.
He didn't want to drink, but he was getting that peer pressure. Come on, drink. Stop. Well, they got asked to leave the pool. Matt started hitting on the waitress, got belligerent, even made her cry
Oh.
because he didn't think she was serving the drinks fast enough.
Jeez.
According to Cody.
He
So
seems
they
like a
get
neat
asked to
guy.
leave. So security comes and the hotel assistant manager, Mr. Delgado, come and ask them to leave. They leave the pool area and go straight to the bar inside the resort. Matt decided they should go in there and keep drinking.
Oh, he's having a party.
And they got kicked out of there too. And this time they walk them out to valet. Matt thinks he's going to drive. They refuse to give him his keys.
I mean, how many drinks are we at now? Like
So
9?
the 5 beers earlier, we don't know how they drank them because they were driving around their golf cart, but there was 6 of those drinks with the floater per person within a 2-hour and 45-minute time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had the times written down on my notes, but they wouldn't let us keep them. But it was like in 23 minutes, another round, 19 minutes, another round. I mean, these drinks were popping.
Oh, well, I mean, the waitress wasn't doing it fast enough for Matt.
They were
Right?
popping.
Just for a second. Matt is the
The boss.
defendant. Cody is the plaintiff, correct?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
And Matt,
Okay. And
Matt
Matt's the
made her
boss.
cry.
Sounds like a real douche.
Made her cry. I mean, that's just rude.
It is rude.
So
be nice to your servers.
Matt wants them to call the cops because the resort won't give him his keys.
He wants to call the cops. After he's been drinking up. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So the police come. While they're talking, the resort tells Matt, let us get you a hotel room. We'll only charge you half price.
That means they really know how wasted he is
So
because they don't want to be liable here. Okay.
goes to the room. Matt finally goes to the room. Okay. Cody goes with him. Cody then asks, hey, can I go get my antibiotics out of his truck? Because I need to take them. Well, while there, the officer determines that Cody is sober and tells valet they can give Cody the keys. Cody can drive them home
Okay.
because Cody's sober.
Okay.
And in the police thing, because we got to see the police thing, it says sober friend, which was Cody.
Okay.
Cody goes up to the room. Cody's version is while he's looking to make sure Matt's got everything, Matt takes off to the elevator and goes downstairs.
Oh, a little escape artist.
Well, he had grabbed the keys from Cody's hand and took off downstairs to go get in his truck.
Uh-oh.
So Cody follows him. Down at the truck, Cody opens the door and steps on the running board and reaches in to try to grab the keys. Well, Matt throws the car in drive and they take off. So Cody's half in the car leaning in. So Cody gets in the car and shuts the door. It is one of those big Ford F-150. Captain Cody was the sober one, and he took a sip of the beer and then 1 or 2 sips of the Miami Vice. And then he had virgins ones, according to him. So they take off. Matt gets up to 70 miles an hour leaving the resort. So when you leave the resort, you have to go up because it is the hill country up and down. He goes, you're supposed to turn to the left to go down the road. He kept going and they went off the edge and went down 40 to 50 feet in the
What?
truck.
40 to 50 feet?
Uh-huh. No seatbelts.
Whoa. Uh-oh.
No seatbelts. Cops come. Matt got arrested for DWI. Cody refused the ambulance service. He refused to go to the hospital because they were taking Matt to the hospital and he didn't want to go to the same hospital. So he called another
Like you're to be
coworker.
bunkmates at the hospital.
I know, another
Because you're
coworker.
involved in the same thing. They're not going to put you in the same room.
Yeah. They came and got his coworker came and got him, took him to his boss's house to get his truck. Then he went to the urgent care on the way to his house in Navasota. That's where the Navasota came. It's on the way.
And urgent care after falling.
Well, they
40
said
to 50
ER.
feet.
They said ER. Just
Oh.
Navasota's a smaller town, so I think they're called micro hotels or micro hospitals or something.
Okay.
So went there, and Cody started getting really sore the next couple of days, right?
I bet.
Well, if you've had a wreck, you know it's gonna. Matt had nothing. Nothing. I mean,
that's
drunk
usually how it
people
goes for
usually
truckers.
don't.
Mm-hmm. It's
They had to
wild.
knock out the windows to get out of this truck.
Wow. Oh, I bet
And
it
they
was
showed us the
snatched up.
pictures
Yeah. Is
and
it
stuff.
bad?
So then Cody goes on to testify about the year and a half of medical. He's got 2 ruptured discs in his neck, 2 in his back.
That's rough.
He is married and they have 5 kids. He's the main breadwinner. And he was a rigger, a crane rigger. And I still don't understand what the crane rigger does, but there's a lot of heavy lifting, pulling kind of stuff in it. But he did get his crane operator license. He continued working during this whole time. He took like a week off after, but he didn't get paid if he didn't. So he was working through the pain.
Well, with
He was
5
going
kids.
to the chiropractor. He was getting the injections, kind of like what my husband got. The steroids, wound up getting the ablation. I mean, he was doing all of that. And wound up quitting his job and went to work somewhere else because all of a sudden he wasn't getting the hours after the injury.
Oh, what? I wonder why.
Now, we also find out Matt is in the company truck that
Like during this whole thing?
the accident happened in the company truck.
Bro,
Uh-huh.
what an idiot. No, it's always idiots that are in charge. I
And
don't
the boss
understand it.
paid for everything all day.
Mm.
So then they they never called the officer who said Cody was sober.
Mhm.
Never called her.
All right.
I'll tell
Weird.
y'all what I find out later, but we get to talk to the officer who reported to the scene of the wreck. During his testimony, he said his perception was Cody was not sober.
Mm.
Okay, that
Interesting.
was his
Okay.
perception. Now, this is after Cody's been flipped over in a truck, in shock, injured.
But they didn't call the officer that's suspicious.
And the officer, we saw his recorded deposition, not him in person.
Who? The officer you
The
just said?
officer.
The one that found him in the truck, I mean.
Yes, but we only got
Okay.
to watch the recorded deposition. He did not come to court because of scheduling
I
problems.
think, but I think when it comes to civil cases, depositions are usually what happens.
Yeah.
So that's really not too surprising, I
Now,
guess.
he did tell us Matt was very intoxicated. He failed his field sobriety test. And of course, they walked us through every step of a field sobriety test.
Oh, God.
I was like, seriously. I don't need to know how many times you do this, how many you do. No. Then Matt refused a breathalyzer.
Smart.
He refused it.
It's
So
true. It's smart. I know you guys don't like that, but it's actually really smart
he
to
was arrested
do that for
and
appropriate
they
reasons.
got the court order to get his blood draw.
Okay.
Now, we will find out later, Matt has a CDL in the state of Texas. If you have a CDL license, your driving blood alcohol cannot be over 0.04.
Oh, wow. That's
It's half.
barely anything. That's like
Matt
cold
was
medicine level.
0.159, I believe
Holy
it was.
shit.
And this was
Whoa,
3
buddy.
hours. Estimate
Yeah.
the wreck, getting there, 2.5 to
It's
3
lower.
hours.
Yeah.
And from the time they got kicked out of the pool to even driving was an hour and 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's why
So
they
for
tell
it,
you to like wait and make them do a court order blood test because then your alcohol level's not going to be as high as it was, which means this was really high.
commercial driver's license. So you can drive 18-wheelers, big trucks, and things like that.
Is it okay if I eat my trolley gummy llamas? You missed the beginning of the show. Look what Elbow Feet found me as a snack. They're tropical gummy llamas.
Oh, I love that.
And I haven't opened them yet. So I'm gonna have
Please eat them. So then we had Mr. Delgado, who's the assistant manager of the resort.
Okay.
This is where it got interesting to me. In opening statements, the plaintiffs told us we were going to hear from the waitress.
Oh, okay.
But we heard from Mr. Delgado, who told us what the waitress told him. And that's why he kicked Matt and Cody out. So the waitress came to him and said, this guy's being unruly. He made me cry. That was my whole thing.
Okay.
They allowed it. And I'll get to when I ask the question later, but yeah, so they allowed it. So he told us he never witnessed Matt or Cody being anyway. He did say that he had never gotten any complaints about Cody. It was all about Matt.
quick question, real quick.
Uh-huh.
Opening statements. What did defense have to say? Are they saying that Cody was just as wasted, or okay?
They were.
Just want to make sure I'm on the same
And
page here. Okay.
they were trying to plant the seed that maybe the waitress wasn't truthful about how many drinks they actually ordered,
Mm,
even though we saw the bill. So in the plaintiff's opening statements, they showed us the piece of evidence of the bar bill
mm.
with the timestamps.
Interesting. By the way, these llamas are delicious.
Are they? Okay, I'll have
Yes,
to go because I love gummy bears. Are they
I do
like
too.
soury
These are
too, or just
sour, but not too
okay?
sour. Just
Okay.
enough sour.
So I found that interesting that we had Mr. Delgado, who now they didn't show
Mhm.
us any video from the resort of
Ooh,
any of these
interesting.
actions. We didn't see any of that. The only evidence we saw was the bar bill.
But see, even the bill wouldn't be enough for me, to be honest, because anybody could have drunk whatever off of
Right.
that. But like, there's so many drinks.
And my
Like,
question was, were they having a special on Miami Vice? Because I've never heard of one. And I've been to this place and I've been to the bar. I don't remember them offering me any Miami
like
Vice.
what day is a special? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
um, so then next they call a neurosurgeon
Oh, okay. Weird. Okay.
because he specializes in the spine. They are
Oh,
saying that Cody needs to have this surgery,
right. Okay. I forgot.
and it's going to be about $800,000.
Wow.
Now, they did go through and show us all of the bills, you know. Now, one question I had that I never got answered, they had affidavits from all of the places that Cody got treatment. Now, Cody working in the crane industry, he would travel to the Permian Basin area. If nobody knows where that is up near how did I just lose the name of the city? Please do not take my Texas card.
Don't
Oh
worry. I'll
my
come to
gosh.
you in a few
It's up
minutes.
towards New Mexico. It's where all the oil fields and stuff are. It's where George W. Bush is from. Okay, it'll come back
I
to me.
know.
So Cody would leave town weeks, months at a time. So he had to see doctors in all these different places.
Okay.
So they
Hence all the
had the
counties they asked you
affidavits.
about in jury duty. Yes. Okay.
So they had the affidavits for everything. One question I had, he never paid a bill. So on the affidavit, it would show the amounts charged and the amounts owing. Nothing had been paid.
For Cody, correct? I mean, do they tell you not to pay anything when you're having a civil lawsuit
But
or?
he hadn't filed the lawsuit quite at that point yet. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so I just had why, I don't know of any places that let you get out of there and not pay something, right? So that was interesting. All in all, the bills were huge.
Oh,
Okay,
I
Cody
bet.
had not had the surgery, but they called the doctor up to explain why he needed the surgery. Okay. Now, the defense did a good job um discrediting the
Mhm.
doctor as much as the judge would allow. I will say the judge seemed to shut the defense down a lot like Bev.
Mm. I mean, if you think about it, the neurosurgeon, well, he's a doctor, yes, but he does have some incentive to say a
Right.
surgery needs to be done.
Well, and
Wouldn't be
that's
the
what they
first one, is all I'm saying.
tried to show. They even tried to say, how much money do you get out of each one of these procedures? Are you an owner in these? How much is your salary? They also brought out the fact that they showed us his resume. He also
Oh
has
no,
written
does he
a
work for Aperture?
book. Oh no, his resume has issues. His
Mm.
CV had issues. That's why I said there was correlations.
Oh my God, spill it.
He wrote a book, and in his book, he said that he is a full-time real estate investor, part-time surgeon.
What?
His CV shows that he is a full-time surgeon, part-time real estate investor. And the defense did get him to say, "Oh, well, I never read what the publisher put on my stuff."
Okay. Okay,
Then
buddy.
the defense tried to ask about any lawsuits the doctor is a defendant in. Judge shut it down.
Mm.
Tried to word it another way. It got shut down. So they had to have a sidebar, and then they had to ask us to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and then we got to come back in.
Ooh.
And then tried
Question for you,
to
real quick. Question. Okay, so you guys all get sent back. What are you guys just like giving each other weird looks? Like
we are.
you're not saying anything, but just the eye. Is that what's
Well,
going on?
at that time, and I forget the sweet lady's name, she was the one who was the arborist. She shared some pictures of some baby owls in the owl
Oh,
house that she had at her house. And so we talked about owls and birds and things like that. I heard
oh,
the guys on the other end chatting a little bit. I will be honest, when we were in the jury room, we had access to our phone in the jury room. It couldn't leave that room, but we had it there.
okay.
And I was listening to Couch Court with Llama on the Karen Reed trial.
I love that.
So I was listening to that. So then we go back in. Then the defense tries to bring up dates of the doctor's certifications and licensing. Got shut down and got told to move on.
What? Why? Ooh.
Then they talked about the doctor's reviews. Got shut down.
What? What?
Got shut down.
All right, what can say? I'll save that
As
question
I
for
say,
later.
it made me have so many questions. I mean,
Right?
guys, I wrote 20 pages of notes.
In what? Like a day and a half, 2
Tuesday,
days?
Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Interesting.
So then the plaintiff calls Matt to the stand.
Ooh.
Shanka, I
Ooh,
will
Matt.
get to the reviews and this follow-up investigation I've done since. Okay.
Matt is the defendant.
Uh-huh.
Cody is
Plaintiff calls him.
so boss man Matt
Gets on the stand.
Okay, let's go.
So
what was he like? What can you
the
describe
first
what he
thing I
looked
had
like?
noticed about him,
Is he
when
younger,
Cody was
older?
he's older. I'd say 50,
Oh, he's
45,
in his
50,
50s?
45. He's like my age.
Okay. Old enough to really, really know better. That's for
Oh, yeah,
damn
he knows.
sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
The interesting thing, when Cody was being questioned, he
Mhm.
was over there making comments, making faces, shaking his head. Yeah.
Did you ever
Yeah.
see The Good Place?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good. You should watch it. But in the last season, there was a character. His name's Brent. And he just reminds me, I bet this guy is like him. If you know, you know.
Oh, no, this guy gets worse. So he gets on the stand. Right off the bat, cocky, arrogant, entitled, with just being asked to say what his name is.
Shocking to no one.
Because
Just what his
Matt
name
is
is?
his middle name. He doesn't go by his first name. He goes by his middle name. And so when he said, "My name is Matt," they were like, "Your legal name."
Okay.
Then they start talking about his deposition.
Okay.
I will say it sounds like he had a horrible attorney. the deposition that we got to hear was not protecting their client very well. I mean, did not have an AJ on his team. Okay, he did not. They start talking to him. So he admitted in the deposition that in hindsight, he probably was intoxicated.
Probably.
But that he shouldn't be responsible for the supposed injuries of Cody. Supposed.
Okay.
So then they start going through drinks. You know, how many drinks do you think? He did not feel he was intoxicated that day. He said, looking back now, he might have been. So he'll go with it. He said, if you drink 4 or 5 drinks and you know you're not intoxicated, it's okay to drive.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I don't think the law disagrees. I'm pretty sure the state of Texas disagrees, sir. But okay. Let's keep going. Okay.
I mean,
buddy.
It's interesting. I mean, I'll just say it was frustrating me that he didn't really seem to have any remorse. Okay? He didn't. And that bothered me because he drinks and drives.
Mm-hmm.
He was so vague in his responses. The attorney had to keep saying objection non-responsive. He would ask a question and he wouldn't answer it.
Like at all. He wouldn't say anything.
Oh no, he would, but he wouldn't answer the question. He pulled a
Jen McCabe.
Jen McCabe. And on my notes, I kept writing Jen. Because he got asked, did you eat that day? I had 3/4 of a breakfast burrito. That's all I needed.
Okay,
at
buddy.
8 in the morning. This is 8 at night. All of those drinks and no food.
He's wasted. He probably thinks, oh, I'm an older dude. I've drinks plenty. I'm fine.
That was the other thing. He says, depends on how often you drink and that you're used to drinking and your body weight.
He went with the tolerance defense. That's not good. That means you drink a lot, sir. That means you have a problem,
Oh,
probably.
no. Another one of his statements is, and I don't really drink that often.
If you don't really drink that often, you're going to be freaking tanked.
So then they pull up evidence from his therapist. Most of it is blacked out.
Oh, okay.
Except for the reason why he's there. Because of his drinking. And when it says, how much do you drink? It was like a 6-pack, 2 glasses of scotch. It was something like that. And they're like, but you don't drink.
Like, is that a day or a week?
Didn't say, but he, on a usual basis.
Wow, okay.
So he drinks, guys. He drinks. Yeah. And the more, then he tried to say he didn't know what a floater was and that he never ordered the shot of Myers to go on top of the drinks and that the waitress just made it up and put it on the bill. And he said he never even noticed a floater on the drink.
Buddy, it's not your fault you didn't look at the bill then. But to just blame the waitress of putting
he didn't look at the bill, he says, because they asked him to leave and they didn't ever let him tab out. He said he'd never heard of a floater. Never heard of an extra shot on the drink. Oh, yeah, it was all blacked out, Shunka. They couldn't give us, they could just show us that. But I'm sorry, if I'm drinking a daiquiri or a margarita and it comes and there's liquid on top, I would be asking what it is.
Yeah. Well, that they were out in the sun all day. Day drinking in the sun is a whole different monster than just no food. Yeah, you're freaking tanked by 8 o'clock. Like, especially with as much as he's having to drink with floater shots and all sorts of stuff.
And he said that Cody was drunk too because he saw Cody drink all these drinks.
I mean, can I just say something though about Cody? I don't know him. I didn't hear what you did, but this guy's like, oh, I can't drink because I'm on antibiotics. Doesn't
Oh no, I
sound like
believe
something
that.
you'd say.
Oh, if you would have
Okay,
seen
okay.
his wife,
Okay.
Brittany. Oh yeah, I
Okay.
can. Oh yeah.
I feel like you wouldn't do that without, some outside influence to really
Yeah, no,
stick at
he
home. Because I don't think guys,
needs
for
to check his
us,
wife.
as women, right? Antibiotics are a big deal. Your birth control doesn't work. You can't drink. You can't do a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that I wouldn't expect a guy to necessarily know. But okay, all right.
Yeah.
If you say so,
I'm going to
these people.
say, and he even said she wears the pants in the family. The other thing I found interesting, Brittany did testify on the stand. She was in the courtroom the entire time.
Wait, what?
She was in the court the entire time before and after her testimony on the stand.
What? Wow. Okay.
I found that interesting. So when I saw her in the courtroom, I was like, oh, she's not going to take the stand. Oh, no, she did.
Mm.
Yeah. So she
Usually they make them testify first.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
okay. Okay.
So Matt was argumentative. So also Matt, his
Smart.
attorneys would call an objection when he's being questioned by the plaintiff. He just kept giving the answer before the judge could make a ruling. And then they're like, well, screw that. I mean, he already answered.
So he's also dumb.
He was a horrible witness. He thought he was the smartest man in the room. He was entitled. His title at the company is VP.
Of course it is. It's always the incompetent ones, isn't it, everybody? It always is.
Guys, guess what? His company did not discipline him for the accident or an employee getting hurt. They let him do his own investigation into his actions.
What? What?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. So I am overqualified for every job I didn't think I was qualified for then. Okay.
Hey, guess what?
Keep this in mind.
Wrecks the company's truck. So they give him a $1,400 a month allowance to go get a new one.
What?
Here's the other thing. He would tell people he was a co-owner or a partner, and they questioned him on the stand about it. He goes, no, I said I had the offer to be a partner. Never said I was. But you could so tell the type of person he was. He was so telling people that.
Wow.
He investigated himself.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the truck was totaled. So I will say the cop made me laugh because when they showed him the accident pictures, he goes, I hope I didn't take these pictures because I didn't do a good job. He hadn't taken the pictures, but it was funny.
Don't think you really want to say that though, sir.
Yeah. But he said he was younger. He was a younger cop, but
okay.
And Matt's biggest thing was, I don't think Cody got hurt in this accident. I think he's faking it and that he's trying to get money and that he was drunk. And where defense tried to get Cody because the night of the accident, Cody told the ER 2 drinks that he had.
Okay.
Well, and they questioned him and he said, 2 drinks that I drank out of, but I didn't drink both of them. And does it really matter if one was 9 in the morning and one was 3 in the afternoon? But they tried to say he was a liar because he said 2 drinks.
But question, would it have mattered if the passenger was drunk or not?
Exactly. And that was my whole thing. And the jury afterwards, we talked about, it didn't matter. Cody never drove.
Yeah.
It would have mattered if Cody actually got behind the wheel. And I hated that we didn't get to hear from the cop who actually said he was sober because we heard the term that she gave a field sobriety test to him, but it wasn't in her report. There was no video of it.
Mm.
There was no video of anything except for the body cam at the scene of the wreck.
Interesting.
Now, then they called several friends and families of Cody's to tell how Cody has changed, what he can and can't do. Like, Cody's wife testified how she had to get a stool for him to be able to stand next to the tub to be able to help their little toddler out of the tub now.
Oh.
And like she has to help him take his boots off
Hmm.
because he can't do those things. And that even with the injections, he's never been totally pain-free, but it did enough that he could still work and get through it.
Yeah.
They tried to say that he wasn't in pain the whole time. I mean, Cody did 1.5 years of physical therapy, chiropractor appointments, injections. I mean, he worked through all of it. And they talked about how he was now grumpy. He was irritable. He has to call and ask people to help him cut the yard or do things around the house
Yeah.
because he can't.
You know, Simone brings up a good point here. If the passenger could have been sober, he could have better judgment to be able to drive. But Simone, you're not wrong,
You're
right?
not wrong.
But then we get into insurance territory. Was he even insured to drive that car in the first place? Because if not,
We were
guess
told in
what? You have a
our
problem here.
in our jury instructions, it
Interesting.
does say, do not consider or guess whether any party is covered by insurance unless I tell you to.
Interesting.
So we weren't allowed to consider, and we were told that before we even heard any evidence. So I never even stopped to think of insurance.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. This is by the way, I just want you to know this is fascinating.
Oh,
I'm having a great time. I think chat, are you guys having a great time? Isn't this fascinating to hear
Matt on
these
the
sorts of
stand
things? Okay.
was Jen McCabe, then had the Higgins that we watched from last trial, that adversarial and wanted to give you information and get his point across, even though he wasn't being asked it.
Yeah, of course.
Like he wanted to keep saying supposed injuries. He wanted to keep saying that Cody was as drunk as he was and that he didn't believe that Cody asked for virgin drinks.
Interesting.
And then he wanted to bring up the fact that Cody quit a month after the accident.
Okay.
And that he
But they
used,
cut his hours, right?
he wasn't getting the hours, but during that time, Cody got his CDL so that he could become a crane operator because he couldn't do the rigger job anymore. It was too physical for him.
Okay, so he got that right after the fact. Okay, okay.
Now, the plaintiff tried to get this in and it got kicked out. They asked Matt, so Matt, tell us about your previous cocaine charges.
Of course. Of course.
Shut down.
Wow.
It was shut down.
Okay.
But it was enough to put in your mind. The one thing that the defense did that made me have some questions about Cody was about his gambling. And that got shut down.
Okay.
But then when Brittany got on the stand, come to find out, Brittany went to a work conference in Vegas. Cody went with her on the work trip. And maybe they gambled in Vegas on the work trip. But the defense was trying to get us to think Cody needed the money from this false lawsuit because of
Can't you
gambling.
do it on a work trip as long as it's not when you're doing your work? Or I've never taken a work trip before. I've never had the privilege.
Okay, but the boss, if they're allowed to take the company vehicle home back and forth, it was on a Friday. It was a work day. Cody was being paid to go
Okay,
break
yes.
off.
That's right. I forgot about that factor that Matt was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. I'll pay you. Let's go party and hang out. Okay.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we did hear from all the friends and family that Cody wasn't the same. Cody kept working through all of this because he needed to support his family. I
Mhm.
will say it came across very much so that Cody is the type of man, he is not going to complain. He's going to do what
Mhm.
he has to do to take care of his family. That was
Yeah.
very evident.
Oh.
That was very evident. Matt was so confrontational. And the fact that he said it's okay to drink and drive as long as you're not intoxicated, but yet he didn't really think he was intoxicated, but you were 0.159 or something,
Bro.
and that's several hours later.
Yeah.
So
Ooh. Not great.
I I did write down when I got home each night, I did write down some of the things that I found interesting. Um,
I mean, he is more than qualified to work for the Massachusetts State
oh,
Police,
he
it sounds like.
definitely. Um, but they also caught Matt saying, because he got asked, well, did you know Matt was injured? Well, I knew he went to the emergency room. Well, why did he go to the emergency room? So he could get cleared to come to work. But didn't he have to take days off because he was sore? I guess so. So was he injured? I don't know. Is he? I mean, those were the kind of things he would say.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely some prepping there.
And then they asked him, so you admit that you shouldn't have been driving because you were drunk, but you don't admit that you're responsible for Cody getting injured. He goes, is he injured? How do we know? So
Sir,
Matt's whole thing is, I'm not injured. Why would Cody be injured?
I don't like the snack guy.
As I said, I despised the man.
I mean, I
Despised.
get you got to be careful what you say when you're on the stand. That's why a lot of well,
Oh,
this
but he
is civil.
didn't.
Civil is
He
different than criminal. You
he
can be
didn't listen.
called. You
He
can be
did not
called to the
listen to his
stand.
attorney.
Um, this is also
He
why you don't get on
Yeah,
stand.
yeah.
What now? Your reaction was like that. Did you get the vibe that everyone else was like really turned off with this guy too?
Mm-mm.
Like, and like, did you feel it?
Yeah, like, I would turn so I was on the front row because you could hear gasp and stuff behind you. I have to tell you about my one sweet little juror who asked the people sitting next to her to wake her up when she would fall asleep because
Oh,
she falls
oh,
asleep. She was the older lady, and she would fall asleep in the middle of testimony,
oh, okay. That's great that they picked her for this. Okay.
and they would have to but yeah, you could hear, um, also where the table was for the paralegal running the TV, the video monitor, my eyes would hit her. So I had to try so hard to not look at her because I know my face is very expression.
Hmm.
And I noticed the attorneys were watching us. So there was 3 attorneys all the time for the plaintiff and 2 for the defense.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And I noticed that when they would see a reaction from us, you would see them reach over and tap each other.
Interesting. They were
They
always
were
watching you
always
guys.
watching, but Matt did himself no favors. I mean,
Mhm.
he didn't, because if he would have come up there and said, "I am sorry this happened. I was drunk. I didn't realize I was drunk, and I hate that Cody's having to go through this," and then say, "But I don't think he deserves millions,"
Mm,
I would have been a little bit more inclined to listen to him.
mm. No, he sounds just awesome.
He made it where you didn't like him, and it was so hard because I knew we couldn't punish him for not liking him,
True.
but it was making it really hard to set the 2 apart.
Yeah. I could see that. That's true. You can't just be like, listen, you're an a-hole, buddy. So we're gonna F you over
And
today.
the
It's
other
difficult.
interesting thing that I noticed, I don't think any of my other fellow jurors did until I mentioned it. Nobody was there for Matt. There was no family. There was no friends.
Oh,
Matt had nobody in the courtroom for him.
interesting.
Nobody.
Interesting. Not even like a company lawyer.
Nope. The only people in that we saw that were there consistent was Cody's wife, Brittany, and a guy that we weren't sure who he was. I wasn't sure if he was an insurance guy or a reporter,
Okay. Could have been both.
but my thought is, we found out Matt let us know he was married.
Oh, still. Okay.
Where's your wife? Why wouldn't your wife be there supporting you?
Mm.
And guess what else, guys?
What?
The defense called nobody.
Nobody? Well, that's not great. That's not great in a civil trial. That's not great.
They called nobody.
Um,
Now, I will give them credit for doing a good job, but here's the thing. They told us we were going to hear from the waitress. We never did.
who told you that again? The defense?
The
In
plaintiff,
opening?
in
Oh,
their opening
plaintiff in
statement,
opening. Okay.
we
So no
only got the
waitress.
hearsay from the assistant manager. The defense did a decent job of questioning. How do we know that's how many drinks they really had?
Hmm.
How many times have you gone to a bar and stuff's been on your bill that you didn't order?
A lot. A lot. I like to buy stuff for other people.
They said there was other people complaining about them at the pool. They didn't
Mhm.
call any of those witnesses.
Interesting. Um,
And
who?
for me, if you're going to be asking millions, I mean, because at the end of the day, I don't think it mattered if Cody was drinking. The defense kept asking questions about whether or not Cody was drinking. To me, it didn't matter,
Hmm.
but I think they also were trying to say if he would lie about drinking, is he lying about being injured?
That's. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic. I hope that didn't blast anyone's ears. That makes sense to me as well. Now, did they give you money amount in opening statements, or
Just
no? Okay,
millions.
just
Only
millions.
money amount they gave us was the cost of all the procedures he had done, and then the cost of the proposed surgery.
Okay, so you weren't told like our client wants $20 million
No,
or something.
no,
Okay, always wondered about that, but okay.
no, we did not get that.
Well, I mean, I don't know how his defense would have called anyone. They just met a week ago. That's
Yeah. I
crazy.
mean, that was interesting. I will say the plaintiff, and I wrote this down on 3 or 4 of the witnesses they called friends and family. They were heartstrings. They were there just to pull our heartstrings, and
Sure.
I literally wrote down heartstrings
Mm.
next to them. One friend they called, they used to work together
Mm.
and now don't work at the same company, but have run across each other. I did like that he was able to tell us what Cody can't do now. Like to get up into the crane, it takes Cody a while because he hasn't had the surgery and he's having to
Mm.
stand up and explain that he has pillows around him inside the crane. He'll sit in
Wow.
that crane for hours.
My brother has a very similar
Yeah.
injury thing
The
going on
defense
there.
also tried to, in my opinion, shame Cody for getting in the truck. They asked him a lot. So you thought it was smart to get in the truck, but if you think about it, the way he was, if he was leaning over, and here's the question I wanted answered. If you just turn a truck off while it's still driving, what would happen? Because that was something that one of the attorneys, they were like, well, did you just think you were going to turn the truck off?
It would still keep going.
Apparently, it will keep going. I know this after the fact, but the power
Oh,
steering, it's not as easy to steer, and you wouldn't have control of the steering wheel.
okay.
So the other thing that was interesting, Matt, the night of, told the police that he was avoiding another car, but there was no other car on the road.
Interesting. Yeah, I
The
think Lady in Gray says something interesting here. The choices of Cody that Cody made do matter, jumping on the truck, not going to the ER via the ambulance. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here with Cody because I do agree. Why didn't you just went 40, 50 feet off a cliff? Freaking go to the hospital, right? But let's all remember where we all live. Okay,
but
that
he was
ambulance
also
ride, thousands of dollars. Hospital, 1,000. He has 5 kids. So for him, maybe he's like, that's going to be too expensive for me and my family to afford.
and
I'm fine. I'm not dying, sort of thing.
adrenaline. We did talk
True.
about it after. For those kind of injuries, I mean, I was in a car wreck, went through the windshield, hit a cement culvert. Guys, I walked 1.5 miles to Sonic looking for my boyfriend. I remember none of that.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
I mean,
adrenaline, all of that. And as Cody seemed to be the type of person, he was still trying to take care of his boss. My thought is, I think he was gonna try to talk his boss out of driving, and he was trying to snatch the keys back away. What I
mm-hmm.
don't know, was it the year of the car where you just push a button? Were the keys in the ignition? That we never got to figure that out. Because,
Oh,
like, in
that's
my car
interesting.
now, you can just push the button and it'll stop
That's so wild to
while you're
me.
driving. But he accelerated so fast, if you're leaning into the car and the person goes from 0 to 60 like that, your best option is to shut the door and get in. His only other option would be to jump out onto the concrete.
Mm.
And I think if it all happens
Interesting.
in less than 45 seconds, I can't say what I would have done.
Mm-hmm. So, what about when Cody was on the stand?
Mhm.
Like, did
He
you
was a great
guys?
witness. He was a
He,
great witness.
oh, okay.
You can
He
tell he's
seemed very
a
believable.
good old country boy. He believes in family, church. I mean, that's
Mm.
you could tell
Okay.
that's his. Even on days
Mm.
like his wife, Brittany, mentioned, he would be in the bathroom crying. She wouldn't see it.
Mm. Now,
He's
somebody asked earlier, was he suing just Matt or Matt and the company or?
so that is something I asked later.
Oh,
So
okay.
we did not know who was being sued because me being in HR, I was like, why isn't the company here involved? Why, I mean, I had so many questions about
Hmm.
that. Um, we find out later all of that, but at the time during it all, we didn't know. But so what happened on Wednesday night, we were told there was no defense witnesses and that we would come back Thursday morning to hear the multiple charges that we would need to decide on and closing arguments.
Okay. Were you all surprised? Because I think you said like
I was
it's supposed to
shocked.
last the week and that was it. They weren't going to say it was very long.
I think the plaintiff was shocked that the defense didn't call anybody.
But did they call nobody because one, he just picked up the case a week ago. Two, was that their client was a bit of an a-hole, so they were like, "Yeah, forget about
Oh,
it."
well, we
Or
get there Thursday morning. We walk in. We see plaintiff and defense. All of the attorneys are sitting there joking with each other.
mhm.
And we hear from the bailiff that we will be going into the court to be dismissed. They settled. Last night,
Ah,
when the defense didn't call anyone and they sent us home, they stayed, we think, for like another hour and 15 minutes or something. They settled. And what was great, the judge thanked us, all of that good stuff, did say the attorneys will stay behind and let y'all ask questions.
Shanka wants to know if you wore pink all week.
Every day but the first day, because I thought if I wore pink on the first day, they would think I was a flake. So I wore dark colors. I wore a black blazer, a hunter green shirt with black dots on it. But then I wore pink. My very last day, I even wore my full blinged out belt. And I wore my favorite blazer that you like, Llama, one day. I tried to send Llama pictures each
Yes,
day,
she did. She
but
did. She's like,
they
here's what I'm
settled
wearing
for an
today.
undisclosed amount. We were not told what it was.
How did that make you
Interesting
guys
enough,
feel?
Matt was not in court on Thursday. We were all irritated.
I was gonna say,
The jury was not happy. We wanted to deliberate. I will say we got emotional a couple of times while Cody was testifying and his wife about what he can't do now.
mhm.
I mean, Cody cried on the stand. His wife cried.
No, that's
I
hard.
mean, it, and you could see Cody was uncomfortable sitting. You could tell he was still in pain and he was having to move. I
Mhm.
was wondering why the judge wasn't like, "Hey, do you want to stand up a little bit? You need to move around a little bit." Um, Before we get into the conversation with the attorneys, I have to tell you my views of the courtroom.
Okay, yeah.
So we could not hear the judge.
Oh,
He
fun.
was very hard to hear. Microphone nowhere near his mouth.
Cool.
I don't think the
Helpful.
judge could hear very well because there was twice that objections he didn't catch. Then they had to say it again. Another time an objection was done and they won the objection, but Matt still answered the question.
Mm.
But the judge go, and then they asked for it to be stricken, and the judge goes, "I didn't hear him answer." And we all just looked at each other. All of us, the jurors, were like, "Oh, we heard him."
Oh boy.
So
Oh
the
boy.
judge needs maybe some hearing aids. And I did write down on my notes, I felt the judge, I wouldn't say showed favoritism to the plaintiff. I think allowed them a little more leeway than the defense.
Mm.
But with that being said, on the defense side, knowing they had only met the client a week before, it was very obvious those two attorneys for the defense side didn't even know each other.
Oh.
They were not even from the same firm.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that's why the judge, maybe it seemed that way. They weren't in sync. So you could just feel that
Do
where
you
the
think the
prosecution
was
were
the
in
one
sync.
lawyer for Matt and the other one for insurance company?
That's what we found out.
Oh,
So
okay.
when we got to talk with them, first thing we asked, or one of the first thing was like, who was that guy in the courtroom? That was the insurance adjuster.
Mm,
And
okay.
after Matt's appearance on the stand, they decided it was in their best interest to settle.
So it was
They
really the insurance company who was like, yeah, we're just going to give them money because this is going to be a lot more money for us
and
if you
those
go.
attorneys were hired by the insurance company
Okay,
on the
that
defense
makes a
side.
lot more sense. That makes a
And
lot more sense.
the attorneys were phenomenal. They were like, "What did you like that we did? Was there anything that you didn't like? Did you feel I was too aggressive? Did you?" I
We're
mean,
like, I have answers.
I
Hey,
oh, I felt sorry for all the other jurors because I had so many questions. I didn't get them all answered, but I liked that they were great about that.
mhm,
Um, but one of the questions I asked was like, "How come y'all didn't have more time to screen people?"
mhm.
Because one of the people on the jury had been in a major wreck and had gotten a settlement.
Oh,
And
oh.
they were like, "Oh, you would have never been on this jury." Then when they found out my brother was a cop, they were like, "What?" I was like, "Well, you're lucky we don't talk, or it's not like we it's like
Hmm.
we lie to each other." They were not allowed the time to really vet the jury.
Wow. Oh, because they only each had an hour, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Oof.
Yeah. So, but we did let them know, like I let the defense side said, I said, "Hey, y'all having to keep reaching over and tap each other was a problem."
We could see it. It
I could
was
see it.
weird.
And it was weird because it wasn't like a tap this, and then sometimes it was Post-it notes.
Mm.
I almost and I did tell one of them afterwards, I said, "It looked like y'all didn't even know each other." One of the attorneys got assigned to the case 18 hours before we did.
What? What?
Yep, and he was
This
more
is
of
civil
an
though, so that's
he was an
it's
appeals
different.
attorney. So the insurance company wanted him there in case they did lose and they needed to appeal it.
Wow.
Yes, Kelly P, they know I have a true crime podcast. They know the name of it. We had a questionnaire before. They know all about it. And we did talk about the Karen Reed trial because I told them, I'm like, your guy, Matt, he was taking the Karen Reed way of doing. So he even would say, "So do you remember that, sir? I don't know. Why don't you show me my deposition notes? Or why don't you show me my text?" And I was like one of the things was like a month ago. And the guy was
How
like, "Well, if you could
hard?
show me." And then when he's reading it, he goes, "But see, you're wanting me to read this. Can I read all of it?"
How hard was it to like control your reactions when somebody said something real
It
stupid?
was hard. At a couple of times I caught myself.
Mm.
A couple of times I caught myself. But when he started pulling the, "Well, you're trying to misconstrue what I say. You're trying to only get me to read that one sentence without giving context
Mm.
from above." So finally, the attorney goes, "Fine, read it all."
Like, okay, buddy, this is going to be even worse for you, but okay.
Oh, and I
Let's
shouldn't
go.
say the defense
Ouch.
didn't call anybody. I was wrong.
Oh,
They So the depositions that were read to us or that we got to see, their
sorry.
defense, they read them out and role played them, even though we had just seen the video of it.
like, like
Yeah,
us, like we
yeah.
do sometimes.
So,
What?
but that
The
was
defense
their
attorneys who don't know each other at
that's how
all.
they did like a cross. They just redid what we had heard.
Mm.
They read the transcript from what we had seen the video for. So to me, that's not calling a defense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Um,
Civil cases are weird.
we did tell one of the attorneys, his name is Peyton. Peyton, if you're watching, hi, I'm gonna be calling you. Um, we recommended to him to maybe get some Botox because you could tell when he was frustrated, he would frown and he would get those big old things. One of the ladies told him he's gonna age really quick if he doesn't.
Oh my God, you guys are savage.
Oh, we will. And I told him that at times you could tell he was frustrated with the judge
Mm.
and that he was like me, you could see it on his face, and we told him he should try to work on that because we could tell his frustrations,
Mm-hmm.
with it. But on the other hand, considering who his client was, and his client wasn't listening to him, I could see why he was frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, just like Jackson was with Jen McCabe, this is how this guy was with his own client.
Oh my gosh. That's the thing, right? It's like you got to represent whomever, like,
And
and
he did
sometimes they're
tell
the
us
worst.
in the questions, I was like, "Did you not prep your guy well?" He goes, "Do you really think it would have mattered?" I was like, "No."
That's amazing. That's
So
amazing.
they settled because Matt was so bad on the stand, and I'm sorry, you could tell Cody was injured.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did tell them I wish they would have explored a little bit more around, was it possible that because Cody worked as a rigger, his discs were already showing wear and tear, and just the wreck pushed it over the edge?
Mm-hmm.
Or did continuing to work injured make it worse?
Those are good questions. Those
We
are very good
never
questions.
we never got any of that. I mean,
Mm.
I respect the man for continuing to work,
Sure.
but because you kept working, is that why the injections weren't working?
Mm.
Is that why?
I think those are more than fair questions to ask, but they didn't bring up anyone
Oh,
to
and we got to ask
answer
Cody
them.
questions and his wife questions
Oh,
along with
after
the
it was
attorneys.
over.
There was one
Oh.
question we asked, and I don't remember what it was, but he was told not to answer
Oh, okay.
what it was, but they
Well, that's
couldn't
pretty
tell us
cool.
the amount because one of the ladies asked, she goes, "Can you just tell us if Cody's gonna get the surgery he needs and get compensated?"
Mm.
And they said, "We can just tell you a settlement was reached." And then the attorney told us the way they look at a settlement being good is if both sides feel pain.
I mean, that's what they do say about compromise, but I'm going to go with this guy got at least $1 million.
Well, just to do the surgery, and if he pays all those other medical bills, that's almost $1 million right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that we talked to Cody and his wife after we left the courthouse. Me and Lori, who lives by me. Hi, Lori.
Yeah.
We told him, do not get the surgery by that doctor. Do
Oh.
not get that surgery by that doctor.
Mm. Go
Do
to
not.
somebody else.
And they were like, why? And I was like, don't. Anytime they're bringing up Google reviews, defendant in a case, and now that I've gotten home and I've researched this doctor,
Mm-hmm.
guess what, guys? At the time of the trial, this doctor's medical license had expired and hadn't been renewed yet.
And here's the one that was supposed to perform the surgery. Shut the front door.
And
What?
currently in Harris County is the defendant in a very large wrongful death lawsuit during surgery.
Oh boy. Oh boy. That's not great. That is not
Yes.
great at all.
Yes. So, yeah. Now, I am
No. I
going to
have a
reach
question
out
for
to
you.
Cody and his wife and see if
Oh,
they are able to come and talk about their experience, not about the settlement.
yeah. No, of
Um,
course. I don't think they're allowed to.
I if they can, just talk about their experience because they had done depositions. The accident happened August 22nd, either 2022 or 2023. I don't remember which. But so they've been
Okay.
dealing with this for a while.
Now, question for you. If you would have been allowed to deliberate,
Mhm.
what kind of number were you thinking of, or if you were at all? How do you think that would, because money is different than guilty, not guilty. It's very
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
So what would have been running through your mind?
So I had showed up with my calculator, my pencil, and I had already started doing some little
The
calculations,
math?
some math. So my first thing was to make sure all the medical bills were paid. And I had, because I had my notes then, I had exact the dollar amount. So then what I was gonna do, so to have the surgery, he was gonna be off. If they could do them at the same time, he would be off 12 weeks. If they
Oh, that's shorter
couldn't,
than I thought. I was
he would
thinking
be off
6 months to a
12
year.
weeks and then 6 weeks.
Mm.
But 12 weeks, meaning he could drive the crane, but do no lifting.
Okay.
So part duty, partial duty, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the surgery is not a guarantee the pain will be gone.
Okay.
So,
It's a lot of factors.
because I had one of my discs ruptured and I had it repaired.
Mm.
And my pain is not completely gone. But it is where it doesn't impede my life. He had them on top of each other, which makes it more complicated
Okay.
because your chances of the pain being totally gone. Oh, what pic did he just post?
It was a joke pic. You can look at it later. It's a
Oh,
Simpsons
okay.
joke. It's
I
not
was
the real
like,
one.
I
That's
pulled
why,
up all the stuff, and
elevate.
we are doing a FOIA request, and I'm gonna try to get a copy of the court transcripts and everything. So, what I was doing is I was calculating 12 weeks, what his pay would be by missing.
Okay.
See, we don't know if they were gonna ask what they were gonna ask, were they asking for mental anguish plus physical pain, plus we never got to hear that because they
Mm-hmm.
could have asked for multiple things. My and this is because I'm weird, I was gonna look at whatever we awarded, the attorneys were gonna probably get 30%,
Yeah, I think that's standard for
like
civil
20
attorney.
to 30. So
Most of them don't get paid unless you get paid.
exactly. So I was gonna
So,
take that out because I still wanted Cody. At the end of the day, I felt Cody and his wife should get, if the medical bills are 900,000, he should get 900,000 for pain and suffering plus compensation to get the surgery and all that. So probably would have been 1.5 million
all right. I think that's pretty fair.
on top of medical bills. Because if the medical bills are 900,000, and if I'm going to give you 1.5 million, that's what, 2.5 million.
Oh, on top of.
Total.
Oh, that didn't even click for
Because
me
if
there.
you've got to pay
Yeah.
the bills, so
Mm-hmm.
my understanding is they would have paid the doctor's office that gave the affidavits of what's owing. They would have sent the money to them, not to Cody. So if they did that,
Right.
I wanted Cody to get 1.5 million.
Right. Which we all learned from the Murdaugh trial, how that works.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I wanted Cody and his family to get 1.5 million because even after the surgery, he's still not going to be able to ever go back and do. He's only in his 30s, guys.
Okay.
Only in his 30s.
Well, that's the thing too, is what if the surgery doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
Because
And it doesn't always.
it doesn't always.
I mean, like Double H had a full shoulder replacement. And guess what, guys? It hurts just as bad.
Mm.
So that was my thought process behind it. If the medical bills were 800, 900, I wanted to match that amount to them, then take in compensation for hours and stuff like that. So about 1.5 million on top of medical bills.
Oh. Now, did you talk with any of the jurors? What were they thinking?
Everybody was in agreement that they were going to award money. I do think we would have had to have been in there quite a while to come to an agreement on an amount.
On an amount, but
I
everyone
think
seemed to be like, yeah, okay.
there were 2 that I felt they would have probably said $1,000,000, and that was with paying the doctor's bills,
Okay.
which would have only left a couple of $100,000
Hmm.
for Cody and Brittany.
Interesting. I
So,
think money is way more difficult than guilty, not guilty.
and I think that was gonna be our problem because it is hard to put a dollar amount on that.
Hmm.
We were lucky that we had a couple of jurors who work in the construction industry. One was a
Oh,
project manager, one was electrical. So
wow. This jury is not a
we
great
were,
jury for this case.
yeah, but I think they would
Okay.
have they would have been more easy on the money like me because I'm looking at how has this impacted this guy's life.
Hmm.
Like, to be honest, even with the surgery, I don't know if he's gonna be able to stay being a crane operator
Mm.
because of all that sitting.
Yeah.
But it didn't sound like he had any other skills.
Mm.
That's what he's done.
Wow.
So I do think if we would have had to deliberate, I think we would have all agreed money needed to be. I think we would have been a while. There was one juror who made a comment that bothered me. She
Mm.
said, "I'm probably gonna decide on whoever I hear last."
What does that even mean?
So I took it as closing statements. Whoever's closing statement, she heard. I mean, that's how I took it. I didn't like the comment, so I didn't ask. I
Okay.
didn't ask. And we had one juror who felt Cody was somewhat responsible because he got in the truck. Still felt he got injured and deserved something,
Mm.
but that he should be held accountable for his bad decision.
Okay. That's a little bit more fair than the other ladies. But
So I think we all agreed that Cody was injured, Matt was responsible,
mhm. But
but I think we would have had a very big problem coming up with a dollar amount. I do.
interesting. Very interesting. Wow. What a
And then
fascinating.
I also asked the attorneys why the company wasn't sued,
Oh, yeah.
because why was it in a workman's comp?
Yeah. Somebody had questions about that earlier or pointed out workman's
And
comp. Yeah. Tell us more about that.
so the defense guy, the appellate attorney, he was like, "We have that same question." Also, Matt's DWI, he had a great attorney. He pleaded down to impeding a roadway.
What?
Did not lose his CDL either.
Impeding a roadway? He went off a 40, 50 foot cliff.
Yep.
I mean, that is why you get a
Matt
lawyer for
had
DUIs.
no
And
consequences. And the money that
he
they
sounds like a
settled,
guy that's never had any
the
consequences for
insurance
anything.
company settled. None of it's coming out of Matt's pocket. Matt,
Wow.
I don't know what the reason the company wasn't is because they're saying it was not a work sanctioned event, that they were off and just hung out together, even though Matt had told Cody he would pay him. Matt said his exact words were, "I will pay for the day, not that I will pay Cody's wages." And that the company later decided to pay Cody's wages for the day.
Mm. Wow. And this guy still has his job and everything.
$1,400 a month truck allowance to get a new truck.
So that includes like payment. I don't know what that means.
That's a lot of money.
Right. That includes your payment, I'm assuming, payment, gas, insurance. Or
Mhm. I mean,
it's
I can't
crazy.
help but wonder if he's not somehow a partner or off the book somewhere. Did find out the company does not have an HR department.
What?
So it's a smaller company, but it's not, they're very profitable because they just let, you know, them run it. But for Matt to be a member at Lost Pines for the golf, he makes a good living. That's like a country
Wow.
club kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. I worked at a country club in high school. It was I'm from a small town, so it wasn't like a to-do country club, but dude, they would leave that place so wasted every night, like crazy.
Well, my next question was, why wasn't Lost Pines held accountable? Well, they were not held accountable because they cut him off and kicked him out.
That was gonna be my thing. They did do their due diligence by stopping to serve him
But
and all
they
that
only
jazz.
offered him a half-price hotel room. Shouldn't
I
it have been
mean,
a full hotel room?
do they
Because
have to
last
offer one at
time
all?
what?
They have to offer one at all? You could just call
Wha
them a taxi or an Uber.
well,
Is that a
that's
policy? I
true.
don't know. I don't stay in hotels that cater to people like this. I'm not one of those
I mean,
people.
put it this way, the road to go into this resort is 3 miles long.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it's long. I'm looking to see their nightly room rates are $899. I just pulled
Holy
it up
crap.
on their site right now.
$800 for a room? Does that
Mhm.
include things?
No.
It's
But it's a big
ridiculous.
resort. They have like a lazy river. You get access to the horse stables, the lazy river, the spa. It's like a big water park thing.
Oh,
It's almost
okay.
similar to somebody with kids knows them. The big indoor water parks, it's a hotel, Great Wolf
Oh,
Lodge or
Great Wolf
something,
Lodge. Yes, we have those.
but it's
Mhm.
outdoors with a big lazy river, so it's like that.
Okay. Okay. I
So
see.
it's
So
like
not just like a golf. But
no.
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but for
Oh.
him to have a membership to play golf there, because it's our nicest golf course right here,
Mhm.
he makes a good living. I mean, he makes well over 6 figures.
Mhm.
So, in
Shame.
his entitledness, he wasn't sorry. He wasn't
I
sorry.
bet it didn't stop him from anything, to be quite honest with you. That's
Yeah.
my speculation.
I mean, I will say I plan on doing some research and trying to find out about his cocaine thing. I do know the attorneys asked us if that swayed us anyway, and I was like, "No, it just piqued our curiosity because
Mhm.
who knows, it could have been back when he was 20."
Right.
Apparently, it was from way back when,
Oh, then
but
who
they did it
cares?
just to
I mean, if he's what you said in his late 40s, 50s
Mhm.
ish. I mean, yeah, who cares?
So,
What you did that. At least I don't. I know some people care. I don't care at that point. I mean,
but I also don't think they should be allowed to settle after each side rest before closing statements. I don't think, but I was told they can settle all the way up through jury deliberations.
mhm,
Like, we could have already made our decision
yeah,
and be going out there to give the verdict, and they can settle.
yeah. I believe they can do the same in criminal as well. Criminal, if there's a plea on the table, they can negotiate
I thought
pleas
they
the
could
whole
on
time.
criminal. I don't know
Hmm.
why I didn't think they could on civil,
Hmm.
because to me, civil's harder because you have dollars to figure out, and
But you're going to be a big fool to take a plea in a criminal like halfway through. The judge isn't because the judge doesn't have to accept the plea at all. But they really frown on that.
oh,
But
I didn't ask that in the civil if the judge had to accept the settlement.
I think in civil cases that yeah they don't care.
Okay.
That's what I think it's because it's different. There's different stuff going on in the two. Now in criminal, yeah, the judge doesn't have to accept the plea deal at all. It can be like, nope,
Wow.
or
I'm
they
gonna
can or he
recommend
can like adjust the time, like
time.
the. Mhm.
I think everyone should do their civics duty, and if you get called for jury duty, at least go. The process was so interesting, and, like, there's one guy that I knew he stood up and said what he said because he didn't want to be on it. It was
Mhm.
obvious. I will also say I was very disappointed with the court in one way. We won't get political, but when a potential juror stands up and introduces themselves and lets you know they're transgender, you call them by their pronoun, not by what their driver's license and birth says. I'm sorry,
Oh
it is
boy.
disrespectful.
Oh boy.
They kept calling her him, and I was irritated. Also a former military veteran and kept disrespecting her
Well, I will say it's
because it
not
was
great. I know people are not going to be. I know
obvious,
people are going to be upset, but
obvious a female,
the court
yeah,
has different
I know.
rules and standards that we socially have one thing, but legally we're dealing with a whole for different reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really not done as a means of disrespect or they have to legally do what they have to do, and then but later usually I find that because doing the Zizians after a few hearings or whatever, then they did make the adjustments, but I mean that's just
She was using her legal name, but they would refer to her as him.
I mean, they just try to keep. I know it's a touchy thing, and some people are
I
going to be upset.
It didn't
It's
feel
it's
good to
more of
me.
right. It doesn't feel good, and I get that, but it's like a purpose for
Yeah.
appeal reasons, legal, a
Just
lot of different
just
things.
don't say
So,
he or she. Just call them by their first name. That's my whole thing. If you have to do that, like me, don't say ma'am, just say Terry.
I mean,
That's
it's
my whole thing.
decorum.
Just
So,
use They use my first name. Why not? I didn't like it.
yeah, I
It
mean, I get
just
it feels not great, but I understand. I don't think people's first assumptions should be like,
guys,
oh,
she designs bombs still currently.
bombs?
Bombs and
That's
missiles.
cool.
She is brilliant, and she told us and explained it. She makes sure that people can't break into the software to do something to make the bomb go somewhere else.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, just another example is the indigenous people in this country. So legally,
I know.
legally, the government has to call them Indians.
I know.
Like it's gross. It's
Yeah. I mean, like I
gross.
said, I'm okay if you
But
say male or female. I get that, but just call people by their first name.
I agree. I agree. It's just, law is always behind.
She didn't seem to have a problem with it. It was me. It was me.
Well
She didn't
then,
seem to have a problem with it. It was me. But
yeah.
I'm that way with let's just call people by their name. I mean, if you don't know, just call people by their name.
I mean, doing all the Zizian research, I get it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it.
But that's also
But
like Mrs. and Miss. If you don't know, just say their first name.
that's what, yeah. I
So, I
always
mean,
do
it's not
Ms. no
even the
matter what.
gender thing. It is just,
hmm
you
I
know,
always do Ms. like
just
no
do
matter what.
Ms.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I
that's the
agree. I agree.
I mean, let's be honest. I changed the spelling of my first name because people always assumed I was a male because of the way my name was spelled.
Oh,
And I got
really?
called him so many times.
Was it
I
with a
would
Y?
go Terry.
Yeah, yeah.
Simone is asking, can we call Colin an idiot?
Well, apparently he is. I mean, we
I'm
just
not
watched this.
I'm not going to call him an idiot. I'm going to say he is an adolescent male who I don't think was raised the right way. He seems very entitled.
Mm.
I think he was saying what he was told to say. And I think his brain is still developing. So I am going to give him a little grace for that.
Oh, you are so nice. Because guess what? 20-year-old Llama was an idiot. Okay, idiot. High school is idiot. Always an idiot.
Were you? See, I was stupid. I got married at 20.
Oh,
Mhm. I got married when I was 20. I
Oh, wow.
had Jeffa when I was 21.
Oh, wow. Buffy and I have been together for 13 years this year. We're still not married.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
so
wow.
that's my thing about saying an idiot. I
Hmm.
think I I think then you're so young, and I guess you could say we were idiots. You're so
Hmm.
young. Your brain hasn't developed. You know nothing. You think you
Nothing.
know everything, but you know nothing.
That's
But I
true.
also don't think, from what I've heard today, I don't think he had parents who hold him accountable.
It seems like, back to Karen Reed, it seems like all the adults are in some arrested development stage.
Mhm,
Like they seem very immature
mhm.
for
Like I
their ages.
said, I gave him kudos for at least calling a friend to get him when he's been drinking and not driving, because his parents and all the other adults drink and drive. At least he got a sober friend to pick him up, so
That's a good
he gets a little bit of respect for that.
point. Don't worry, my kid goes to an all gifted school, okay? And he's an idiot too. I'm just kidding. Well, I
I
mean,
know, but I like the fact that they at least were looking out for each other
mhm.
doing that, because I have to tell you, when I was that age, we didn't think about drinking and driving. We
Or he
didn't.
didn't have his license for some reason. I feel like with him could be a thing. I don't know.
It
Not starting
could be.
rumors.
It could
But no,
be.
I do agree, right? He asked for somebody else and didn't, which is more than anybody did from the bar that night, including the cops. Well,
And I
Terry,
have one last thing to say about my
sure.
jury trial. If you live in Texas and you need surgery, check out your doctors, make sure their license are good, and do not go to Masaka Oshi. Okay? Just gonna say.
Okay.
And
Okay.
everybody should do jury duty. And I hope more courts, if they settle, I hope more courts let you ask the attorneys questions,
Hmm.
because it made me feel better knowing I was thinking the right way. It
As far as I know that lawyers generally try to ask the jury to stick around to get feedback and questions from them. That's usually pretty common.
I didn't know if it
Um,
was in civil. I knew in a
I
lot of
in civil, I
criminal.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm only speaking on the criminal ones. It's usually pretty common, so I don't see why it wouldn't be with civil as well. Um, I wish juries could ask questions during the trial in more places.
I do too. I I mean, especially when there's, like, technical stuff.
Hmm.
And do you in criminal, do they tell you that you can't share experiences? Because I know I listened to Dateline. There was a doctor that got convicted for killing his wife, but they tried to say it was carbon monoxide poisoning from the water heater. But
Mm,
there was somebody on the jury who worked in that field and got to share information about carbon monoxide from the water heater.
mm. I
So,
I think
is it
that's a
only in
fiction
civil
thing.
that you can't?
I think it might be a again, different directions for different jurisdictions and things like that. So I don't know.
You got to talk to the judge. The judge did not. The judge left the courtroom and left us alone with the attorneys. I will say the attorneys all did a great job with what they had.
Oh, that's good.
I do think defense, considering he had a week with the case, I think he did as good as he possibly could have.
I mean, could there have been anyone that could have brought on that you thought would change
I
your
think if
mind
they
or
would have
opinion?
gone through the deposition more, I if they would have been able to control their client a little more on the stand,
Yeah, but that's the deal with the arrogant, entitled ones. Good luck.
I
Good luck
think
with that.
I think they could have. I don't think they asked as many questions because they couldn't control him. Out the window, and that's an injustice.
Hmm.
That
I
is true.
think
Because, like,
that's
I wanted
Good.
to know what happened to a car if you turned it off while driving. I honestly
Mm,
did not know the answer.
I mean,
I
I
didn't
think
know
it's
did it
pretty
just
cool
stop?
that that they want to talk to you afterwards.
They sat with us for 2 hours.
2 hours. Oh, wow. That's even more generous than I thought.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Did anyone else have did they bring up anything that you were like, oh, wow, didn't even think of that. That's so smart.
There was one thing that somebody asked. Oh, what was it? Because I was like, "How did I not think of that?" It was about the injury.
Mm, interesting.
Oh, how did did they ever look into Cody's medical records to see if he ever had this injury before?
Mm,
In other words, did they ever get prior medical records to make sure
mhm.
he wasn't later? And I hadn't thought of that. I was like, "Oh," I had thought about, did
Right.
it get worse? But I never thought maybe he fell off the
Hmm.
ladder at the house 6 months ago and he's been dealing with this,
Hmm.
and he just saw this as a perfect time. I never thought of that.
I mean, gosh, they could have, and they would have been like, ooh, this doesn't work in our favor. So I'm meaning the defense. I'm sorry. We're not even gonna,
Yeah, they did say
so,
they asked for the video from the hotel, but the hotel has that thing where it erases it every 30 days. He
mm.
didn't get an attorney immediately, so it was gone.
Even for an active criminal case.
That's what I said. I said, "I'm sorry, if I was Lost Pines, somebody had a wreck on our property, I would have saved that data for much longer. I would have," but they didn't.
That's
Mhm.
interesting.
The defense, the appellate attorney, he found that interesting.
That is interesting.
Mhm.
Because why wouldn't you?
Right, and the reason we didn't get to speak to the waitress, they couldn't find her now, and they
Oh,
kinda knew where she was, but she stopped responding. So in Texas, to be a waitress, you have to have a TABC license or something.
what? You have to be
Um,
licensed to be a server?
you are covered by them, so basically, she could have not been a no longer a waitress if she overserved, and she didn't cut him off before to continue serving. So he mentioned that, and they said maybe that's why she didn't want. Yeah. So we have the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, and they do waitresses if you serve alcohol and bartenders.
What forever? Like everybody has to have that?
Mhm.
That is wild. Oh my gosh. What?
So,
I
and
can
they
like
said maybe
go,
that's why, because the defense was trying to say that she should have stopped serving them,
what's
and
funny is we make fun. We make fun of the servers and bartenders who take like these special classes. Everybody makes fun of them because we're like, whatever, you're Joe.
yeah.
You got scammed. You got scammed.
But they also were alluding to that they didn't have
What?
that many drinks. So, Matt was saying he didn't drink that many drinks and that she was padding her thing, but if his alcohol level was that much, he had to have drank that many.
Wow.
Yeah.
See here, the responsibility is on the liquor license, all that is on the establishment,
But all
not
no,
the
you
server.
can
Now you can get
sue.
in trouble for you do have like you have a duty, right? But it's a bit of a gray area. That is crazy.
Yeah. So, but
All of
I
them. My
I
mom says I wasn't an idiot.
I agree with you. She was young and naive,
That is
but
wild.
I did not find it believable that Matt didn't drink all those drinks, because how would your blood alcohol level been so high if
Mm.
you only had 5 beers earlier in the day and 2 Miami Vices?
That is
You
wild.
know, in some states, they even have like the topless dancers. I don't know what their correct word is, but like for gentlemen clubs, they have to have a license if they sell liquor.
What?
Yeah.
You
I don't think they do that in
Southerners are
Texas, but
wild.
yeah.
You guys, it's just a racket to get your money. It's a
I think
racket.
it's kind of the way of making sure that they know the laws and they know their responsibility because they can be sued too along with the establishment.
You can here too, and guess what? You don't need a license. And it means jack shit here in Ohio. Doesn't matter if you got one or not. What?
Wow.
It's crazy. To serve
Okay.
food, you guys gotta have a license. You guys, it's a racket. Okay, that's your. We'll get political, but that sounds like a racket to me.
I don't know about serving food. That one's a little
Somebody
weird.
over here
Somebody
said
said,
they're like
yeah.
to serve food, shunka. And I feel like one of my Southern friends, they're in Alabama or Louisiana, said that too about in order to serve food, you got to have, oh, that is wild to
Oh,
me.
Bell says a food handler license.
What? Wow. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, obviously, we know Teri is not a waitress because I was a waitress for an hour and got fired.
Okay.
So,
Alabama speaking up, saying, yeah, they need a food
and
handler.
has
That's
anyone ever
crazy,
heard
you
of
guys.
Myers? I had
Myers?
never heard
Yeah.
of Myers.
Like the store, like the
No, it's a
grocery store.
rum. It's a
Oh,
rum. That was
Myers
the
rum. Oh,
floater
yes.
on top of the thing.
Yes, I have heard of that.
So, well, thank you. It is Memorial Day. If you're going to go have cocktails, please do not drive. Do not listen to Matt. If you drink 3 or 4, don't get behind the wheel.
Mm-mm.
Don't.
Call a friend like Colin, the one thing that he apparently did right.
Yeah.
Uh,
We have
well,
Uber now.
yeah, we got Uber. Teri, thank you so much for sharing your experience. That was so
Yeah.
insightful. I've waited days to hear
It
this.
was fun, but I will say it was stressful.
Mm.
I I would also recommend if you have jury duty, do not watch testimony from the Karen Reed trial and then try to go to sleep because I had these 2 trials going in my head.
Oh, wow. Wow. And then,
But
yeah, if any of you watching has been in a jury and you would like to come on and tell me all about your experience, because listen, it is different jurisdictions, different rules, different etiquette, different everything. I would love to talk to you. So feel free to email me at tara@tcwtmedia.com. That's right. My real name's not Llama. Shocker. Or you can email amy@tcwtmedia.com and we will definitely book a show because I think more people too, I think the more jurors talk about their experience,
Mhm.
the more people might be more comfortable serving on a
Do
jury,
it.
right? Because it's like this big secret
Also, if anybody
thing.
knows a judge who would be willing to come on, I mean, even on True Crime and Wine Time, we would love that. We had Judge Blevins on, and
Judge Blevin Perry.
yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, I would love that. I am gonna reach out to these attorneys and see if they'll talk to us, so maybe I
That's
can
right.
get them on for you.
If you guys know the story of the trial of Casey Anthony, Terry interviewed that judge.
Mhm.
Judge Belvin Perry. He was a wonderful, wonderful Southern gentleman. He was. I very much enjoyed that guy.
You
I
can
didn't even
listen
find
to
it
it on 2
funny.
times speed and not miss a thing.
It's true. He does have that long Southern drawl, but I appreciate it because
I do too.
I think it's wholesome and wonderful.
And are
Well,
we back tomorrow morning with you? Who's
we
on the
are.
stand tomorrow? Do we know?
We don't know. Probably Dr. Welcher for the prosecution, you guys. So if you're just listening, I do Couch Court with Llama during the days at 8:30 a.m. Eastern every morning, where we're doing the Karen Reed trial live. It starts back up tomorrow. We're so excited. And then
What
I
would you
also do
do if they settled and she took a plea deal or something and you came in tomorrow and she had done that?
one. I'd be like, "Are you an idiot?" That's what I would say. I'd be like, "Are you stupid right now?" I mean, I understand if she doesn't want to go for another trial. Okay, but like, I think this is going to be on jury again. I really, really do
I do
think
too.
that because remember, you only need one holdout.
But I was just saying, but what would you do? You would be so bad.
I would lose my mind. It's what I would do. I lose my mind. I guess I have to drive to Massachusetts and be like, what are you doing? This is horrible.
Well, it's not gonna happen, so you'll be back tomorrow morning.
That's true. And then after that, I'll be recording Couch Court with Llama After Dark to pick up the Diddy trial that's been going on. You guys, if you have not listened to it yet, it is insane. It is insane the things coming out. You're just like, what is even happening?
Do you think
And
P. Diddy will get on the stand? I don't think they'll put him on the stand.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. That
Because
would
I
be
would love to hear what would come out of his mouth because I think he would be like Matt in my trial. I don't think his attorneys could control his mouth.
no. And did you listen to the one? I think it was what Thursday. I think it was with Kid Cudi was
Kid
on,
Cudi.
and they were like, he broke into my home and people unwrapped all of my Christmas presents and put my dog in the bathroom. I think bad stuff happens to the dog, but I don't think they wanted to say what. Because that dog seemed very scared and skittish, and that you're not really going to get that from just being locked up in a room. But they unwrapped all of these Christmas presents.
I would like only for P. Diddy to get on the stand because I think they would give him enough rope to hang himself.
Ugh,
And
he's
he would
good.
get convicted for sure if he gets on the stand.
I mean, it's still supposed to last till July 4th at least. There's still so much to come out, I'm sure. Listen, okay, feds don't come after you unless they got enough to fuck you. Okay. I'm just saying because they got all the time in the world. They got all the
Yeah.
time in the world. They brought the charges quickly because they're prepared for in case that person wants a speedy trial.
Right.
Okay. Unlike state, federal government's different. They get different
Right.
rules, they get all this stuff.
How do you get on a federal jury? Does anybody know?
They summon you.
Just
Who
like
was it?
regular? Like
Uh-huh.
it
Yeah.
would just show up in the mail like the one
Yeah.
I
Yes, ma'am.
How do I
I
get
forget who it
that to
was.
happen?
It just happens. I forget who it was. Somebody I know at some point in the last couple of years
Okay, now I
got
have
summoned
another
for a
thing on
federal
my
jury.
bucket list.
Was it Amos? I think it was Amos. I think it
Okay,
was.
I'm gonna have to reach out.
We have to ask her. Somebody I
Now I
know.
need criminal and federal, and I'll be good.
But it could have been, I don't know, for grand. I want to know about grand jury. If anybody's ever done a grand
So
jury, please message
I
me.
got picked for the grand jury in Dallas, but I couldn't my job wouldn't let me have the 6 months to do it. So the grand jury was 6 months, and I had to be in town and available because they said you would at least go 3 days a week for several hours
Oh,
a day. And at that point in time, I was managing 30 different sites and traveled, so I had to say no.
that's fascinating because the grand juries are so secretive,
Mhm.
which I don't like. Sorry, I don't like it. I don't like grand juries. I think it's secretive, BS, not fair. It's only so the prosecution can bring charges. The defense usually is not invited. They can literally bring next to nothing to a grand jury and have them charge you. And I got a big problem with that.
Well, but it's better than them just being able to charge you without. At least you know you've got 12 people.
No, I think there should be a higher standard.
Oh, a higher standard.
A
Okay.
higher I'm not
Okay.
opposed to a whole grand jury. I just feel like the standards needs to be come up because
Right.
listen, when we bring charges against people, yes, I know there are some guilty people. Yes, there are also a lot of and it's literally getting any sort of legal charges against you
And
can
she should be.
ruin your life.
That is true. That is true.
And the term, oh, you can indict a ham sandwich is literally like the bar is so low
But
to charge somebody with something.
but
And I have a big problem with that.
In Texas, unless it is a secret grand jury, the person knows the charges are going to be coming if the grand jury indicts them.
Not
Unless
really.
it's a secret grand jury, then they've just collected enough evidence, the person doesn't know they're gonna be getting charged. I don't know, is
Oh,
it that way everywhere? Because
I don't think so.
so here, like, you kill somebody, you get arrested for it, you still have to go to the grand jury to be indicted on it.
I don't think Johnny Depp testified in the Diddy trial because I did all last week and never covered him. So feel like that would be really big. I don't think they would leave
It's
that out, but
I
maybe
just
I'm
don't
wrong.
think there should be the secretive grand juries where
Mm.
they seal the indictment and nobody knows. That I don't think's fair.
Well, and you're not allowed to go to your own grand jury. The defense doesn't even put up anything. Like the defense won't
Yeah,
even know that they have
they won't
one.
even know. Right.
So like, I don't know. I don't like how non-transparent it is.
It's
Again, these
very
are
one-sided.
huge. It's very one-sided. Again, you're going against the government. There's all the resources. They got all the
Yeah.
tools, they got all the tricks, and then they get this easy pass to charge whomever with whatever. So it bothers me a bit. I know a lot of people may not have that opinion, but it's always something that's really bothered me. But I want to know what's like serving on one.
Yeah.
Like, what is
Oh,
that like?
yeah.
So,
Maybe one of the people who watches your show will get it and they will come on and share.
yes, let me know because again, all we have is what's fabricated our mind about it. So
Right.
maybe I'm entirely wrong, and I would love to be entirely wrong about that. But thank you, Teri, so much for coming on and
Thank
sharing
you.
jury experience with us. You guys can catch Teri Wednesday for Midday Missing, which
Yes.
we'll be watching between the Karen Reed court lunch. You won't miss any Karen Reed, I promise. Hopefully our portaling will work. But you're doing 2 Massachusetts cases, yes?
Yes, we are.
Okay, get the word out about Miss. You guys, if you haven't watched it, it's a really, really good show. She
Yes.
covers cases that don't get a lot of attention because the victims aren't perfect victims, if you know what we mean there. So even
Mhm.
sharing it and all of that, it does make a big difference.
It
I enjoy it.
does because tips come in. I mean, we
Mm,
are gonna start sharing some cases that people have been found or the
mm,
families got closure because of tips,
mm,
because that's the whole thing about covering it is to get the word out.
mhm.
And then Thursday night, me and Captain are on True Crime and
Yes,
Wine Time this week.
I'm so excited about that. With the dentist turned serial killer.
And I hate dentists and serial killers, so let's just combine them both.
Is it going to be worse or better than the necrophilia one?
Oh, nothing can be worse than the necrophilia. Nothing can be worse than that. And then don't forget
Oh,
we have members only Wednesday night.
we do. So if you remember, 8 p.m. Eastern, members only with us. Ooh, I don't know what to expect, but I think it's going to be a good time.
It'll be fun.
I know it's going to be it's always a fun time. We have yet to have a boring one. You'll learn things about us that we probably shouldn't share, I'm sure. So,
You might.
all right. Well, thank you guys very much. You all have a great rest of the holiday if you're here in the States. And we will see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, so we can all hang out and then do Karen Reed. So thank you all very much. Until next time, go forth and be amazing. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.